I am going to buy a Tesla. Like, not for real, because I don't think it's a great idea. I just want to prove to you with math, logic, and reasoning why rideshare drivers should stop buying brand new Teslas. This is Tesla.com. The first thing we see is that I can get a Model Y starting at $31,000, $890. And then immediately, you know what we see? We see an asterisk. And the asterisk is after federal tax credits and after estimated gas savings. So that's important to see. $40,930, Model Y rear wheel drive. This is 526 odometers. This isn't even brand new, is it? This is a demo vehicle. You can buy the demo vehicle if you wanted to. Look at that car payment. The car payment, $637 per month. And that's if you put $4,500 down, 72 month, 6.49 APR. This is about buying a new Tesla. What is the cheapest Tesla? So the Model 3 is the cheapest Tesla. All right, so we're gonna go back to here. We're gonna go to vehicles. This is the Model 3 right here. The Model 3 did just get updated. It looks very nice. The Tesla is a car that I want someday, but this is about rideshare. This isn't about personal use. So we're gonna go custom order. So here it is, Model 3. So this is based off of probable savings. We're gonna look at purchase price. It says $38,990. We're gonna go for the rear wheel drive. The dual motors have longer range. They're better overall, but we're gonna keep it the cheapest, right? This is the cheapest Tesla that we can get. It says all prices are shown without incentives or a 3-year estimated gas savings of $3,000. If I go to probable savings, the price changes from $38,990 to $35,990 because it no longer includes the $3,000 of gas savings. I think that's so weird and manipulative to include in your price. But whatever, right? We're gonna pick the base paint because it's free, it's included, right? We're gonna try to spend the least amount of money to make the most amount of profit. You know, we can go with the Nova wheels, which they are nicer, but the cheaper wheels are actually better for electricity consumption. So we're gonna go with the regular wheels, the stock wheels. Interior, I would love to go white, but it's an extra $1,000. We're not gonna do that. Maybe when I get it for personal reasons, but for rideshare reasons, we're gonna keep it black. So now this is enhanced autopilot. $6,000 will get you. You can navigate on autopilot. You can auto lane change, auto park summon, smart summon. This will be great as a rideshare driver, but I can't afford it. So we're gonna skip past it. Now this is full self-driving capability for $12,000. It says your car will be able to drive itself almost anywhere with minimal driver intervention and will continuously improve. All functionality of basic autopilot and enhanced autopilot. It has auto steer on city streets, traffic light and stop sign control. This would be great for like longer drives. It would be amazing. There's some longer drives where I wish I had something like this, but for $12,000, I can't afford it. That's like 3 months of the average, 3 to 4 months of the average driver's income. We can't afford that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to add it. So charging, to charge at home makes it cheaper. We are going to need the wall charger. And I'm not 100% sure what the mobile connector is for. I think it allows you to charge at other like charging stations. And as a rideshare driver, I think I'd want the ability to do that. I don't want to get caught with my pants down with no electricity. So we're going to keep those options on the car. So let's continue, right? It says order your Model 3. Estimated delivery date is between February and March 2024, which is not bad. I don't think that's a bad delivery date. All right, so because it's the lease option, but we already said we're not going to lease. Now, if you wanted to buy cash, which most people don't, it would be $40,630, right? But let's assume you're going to finance this. The purpose of this video is for me to convince you not to do this. And if you want to do this, you should pay cash. And if you can't pay cash, which most people don't, the financing is the option. So they want to pre-qualify me, little old Tristan, to see if I qualify. And the pre-qualifying works without affecting my credit score. I personally don't care about my credit score anymore because I don't use debt anymore. I'm a cash person. The only debt I have left is student loans. When I buy my next car, it's going to be in cash. I'm going to save up for it. But I don't use debt anymore. So I don't even care about my loan score anymore. But my annual income, I'm going to put $80,000. I'm going to say I'm hustling. I'm a great rideshare driver. This is household, so we're including my wife's income. I want to say $80,000 is what I'm going to put for my annual income. I'm going to hit submit. Okay, so now I can show you guys what the result was. Pretty fast. I'm pretty impressed. It doesn't have an effect on your credit score, not that I would care. And it shows you how much I pre-qualified for. Of course, they're going to go through your documents, your statements to make sure you actually qualify for this. So don't lie. You want to be honest. And what I put was kind of on the lower end, and it was expectation based, but whatever. That's not the point here. So it says pre-qualified to finance your purchase. You have pre-qualified for financing up to $44,124. This pre-qualification is not an approval or offer of credit, nor a guarantee of financing, which is available in select states. If you would like to proceed with the financing of your vehicle purchase, you will need to place your order and submit a credit application. So just for some clarity there. Tesla will then pull your credit report, otherwise known as a hard inquiry, which may affect your credit file. Once completed, Tesla will provide you with your final financing. So after you apply, and it shows you that number I just showed you on the previous screen, it shows you your estimated gas savings over 6 years. It says $6,000 for the Model 3 gasoline car. But down here, you can kind of like change the data that it's using to calculate it. So I think that for me, I see every business year as a business year. If I make a purchase, I need to be able to justify it in 1 year. If you're taking multiple years to justify a business purchase for rideshare, you probably don't need that purchase. So we're going to do 1 year. Annual miles, we're going to say about $80,000. $80,000. We're going to say about 80,000 miles. I think that's, for what I'm trying to accomplish this year, 80,000 miles isn't unreasonable. Okay, let's look what the average gas cost is in America. AAA has a great website that kind of breaks it down like this. Of course, gas is expensive over there in California. Over here in South Carolina, we're typically on the cheaper end. It's about $3. Not bad. But because I'm trying to appeal to the masses, we're going to do the average. So today's AAA national average, the average price is $3.27, right? And this can fluctuate, but this is what we're going to use for now. 327. So 328. We're going to round up. $328 per gallon. And this says gasoline car efficiency. Now, if you know me, I think the best car to use is a Prius. The average Prius is 57 miles per gallon for city and 56 miles per gallon for highway. And that's not the electric versions. The electric versions have like 100 something, like it's like hybrid electric mix, but let's just use the lower amount here. Let's say 56 miles per gallon for highway. There is electricity costs, and this cost is the assumption that you never use superchargers. So we're going to pause for a second and we're going to walk through this. We need to determine, will rideshare drivers use superchargers? Because that can have a big difference on the price, and I want to prove it. All right, so here's a Reddit post from two people who use Teslas for rideshare. I'm going to walk through it. This is from r/Uber drivers on Reddit, and it's titled Tesla Life with Uber. We're going to walk through what he says, and we're going to walk through one of the comments responding to this. Okay. Wake up ready to earn Darryl some money. Head to the closest supercharging station because I can't charge at home due to living in an apartment. So that's already off the bat. That's something you have to think about. Do you live somewhere where you will be able to charge? If not, your only option left is a supercharger, which we just have to see how much that costs. So 26-minute drive with minimum traffic. I arrive, car is at 18%. He plugs it in. He waits 50 minutes for it to reach 88%. And he pays $20.16. So the reason why he's charging to 88%, I have to explain how batteries work for a second. And with the exception of the newest one, because I guess the battery tech has changed and I expect it to change over time, it is recommended that you don't charge Teslas to over 85%. It helps with the length of the battery, and it takes a long time to charge it from 85 to 100. It might take you 20 minutes to go from like 60 to 80, and it might take you like 40 minutes to go from 80 to 100. The reason is that the electricity that's charging the batteries is bouncing around in the batteries until it finds where it belongs. And the more electricity is in the battery, the more the new electricity has to bounce around to figure out where can it go. So that's like I don't really know about engineering explanation for how it works. So that's why this person, as a rideshare driver, will probably charge it to 80. One, because we don't want to destroy the battery in the long term. And then two, because to go from 80 to 100 will take too long and it would eat into our pay. So that's something that has to be considered. Like, I'm not just making this stuff up. This is how this stuff actually works. So he says he drives for almost 6 hours, makes $110, which is on the low end. But, depending on what time of day he's driving, that's he's probably driving through traffic. So he says he drives for almost 6 hours, makes $110. I'm at 40% charge. After 6 hours, he loses more than half of his charge. 10.4% was lost just because it's below 40 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. Something you also have to think about. If you drive somewhere where it's cold, battery health doesn't go as far as when the battery is warm. So he has 20% left before he runs back to the charging station and pay another $20 and wait another 50 minutes. Boy, I love having 2 hours of my day lost waiting for a car to charge. I mean, who doesn't? But it's cheaper. Yeah, the cheaper charging stations are great if you want to hibernate in your car for 7+ hours. So what he's referring to here is Tesla has superchargers that charges their cars fast, but there are other chargers, typically made by the government, where they're not as fast and they take longer to charge. And that's the trade-offs. That's something you have to think about as well. He says Hertz has nothing but Teslas available, so I'm stuck in it. So he didn't really mention this earlier, but apparently he's renting. Moral of the story, if you can't charge your Tesla at home for any reason, never, ever, ever get one. The superchargers will rake you over the coals with Elon's smug face laughing all the way to the bank. So that's one perspective. But I love reading the comments here on Reddit because we get to see how other people respond. And there was one really good response here. This is from Expensive Mud. He says, yeah, not charging at home, no bueno, which means no good if you're not fluent in Spanish like I am. My Uber life in my Tesla, he wakes up with a full charge because he charges at home. He drives for about 4 hours, park at a Tesla supercharger, and charge for free while he grabs some breakfast and a coffee. He drives for 4 more hours, do lunch, and recharge for free, drives just a bit more and head home and plug it in for the night. Some of the early Tesla adopters were able to get unlimited charging forever just because they were an early adopter. That's obviously not going to be true for the rest of us who get a Tesla in the future. But here's what I like about his comment. He confirms that about 4 to 6 hours of driving, he has to go back and charge. If I'm driving 18 hours a day, not a day, a couple of days a year, I drive 18 hours, but typically I'm driving 12 to 16 hours. I have to charge 3 times at a supercharger. And I'm charging once at home. So I'm spending 25% of my income at home charging and the other 75% charging at superchargers. Now, we do know that the number Tesla is using right here, this is the average amount a kilowatt per hour costs when you charge at home. But that is not the average amount a kilowatt costs at a supercharger. This is AI. It helps me do calculations, math, and make points without searching all over the web. I'll read the disclaimer at the bottom. It says Gemini may display inaccurate information, including about people, so double check its response. I've double checked these responses. I've ran them already. I asked Gemini, how much does it cost to drive a Tesla 1,000 miles using average supercharger prices versus a Prius with the average gas prices? So here's what it had to say. Here's a breakdown of the estimated cost to drive a Tesla 1,000 miles using superchargers versus a Prius using gasoline. Let's assume you're driving a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. One of the most common models, efficiency. Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus gets approximately 250 watt hours per mile. Average Tesla supercharger costs vary by location, but let's use 30 cents per kilowatt hour as a reasonable estimate. Here's the calculation. So it multiplies 1,000 miles by the 250 kilowatts per mile, which gives us 250,000 watt hours. And then it divides those watt hours by 1,000, which gives us 250. And then it multiplies that by the 30 cents per kilowatt hour, which gives us a total of $75. So for every 1,000 miles you drive a Tesla, you're going to spend $75 at a supercharger, right? So now we need to see what does it cost for every 1,000 miles on a Prius. The Toyota Prius averages roughly 52 miles per gallon, which is actually lower than the estimate that I gave you guys earlier. We'll still run with it. The current US national average prices is around $3.50 per gallon, which is higher than what I just showed you guys. So the calculation here is 1,000 miles divided by 52 miles per gallon equals 19.23 gallons. 19.23 gallons multiplied by the average gas price of $3.50 per gallon gives us $67.31. A lot of people are saying that the cost of how much money they are saving on gas makes up for the difference between the price of a used Prius and a Tesla. Let's explore that. Let's see how that could be true. So my next prompt is, what would the comparison look like if the Tesla driver charges 2/3 of the time at a supercharger and 1/3 at home using average electricity prices? Here's the comparison. So the Tesla Model 3 standard range plus, same as before. Supercharger costs 30 cents kWh, same as before. The home electricity costs 16 cents kWh, which is exactly what Tesla has here. So we know that this comparison that they're using is based off of charging it at home, because the average Tesla buyer probably should be charging it at home. But as rideshare drivers, the batteries just don't last long enough for us to be able to do that. So to calculate supercharger miles, it says 666 miles. To calculate the at home miles, it's 333 miles. The total Tesla cost, it would be $50 for just the supercharging, and then $13.33 for the home charging, right? So now when we do the comparison, we see that the Tesla Model 3 with mixed charging is approximately $63.33, but the Toyota Prius is now approximately $67.31. Man, the Tesla beat the Prius. But what happens when we compare the cost of a Prius, a used Prius, because that's what I'm going to tell you guys to get a used Prius, to the cost of a new Tesla? And I know there are used Teslas out there. I'll have to make a different video where I compare those as well. But this video, the main focus here is to convince you not to buy a brand new car, especially not to buy a brand new Tesla, and instead get a used Prius. So a lot of people might be thinking this isn't apples to apples, but it is. This is your purchasing dollars versus your purchasing dollars. So I would never tell you to get a new car. Maybe a used Tesla. I'll have to do a different video for that. But for right now, we're comparing why you should avoid getting a brand new Tesla and instead get a much cheaper Prius. So let's look at what the price difference is. Let's see how many miles would we have to drive to justify the cost saving between electricity and gasoline. The conclusion says by mixing in home charging, the Tesla becomes slightly more cost effective over 1,000 miles compared to the Toyota Prius. Let's just scroll down to the new prompt. The new prompt says, considering the price of a Tesla after interest is $47,500 and a used Prius for $15,000. So I got that $47,500 by, I went on the Tesla website, like you saw, I tried buying the car, and it was a 72 month loan at about 9% interest rate, which is really high, guys. So even though you're purchasing the car for $30,000, 30-ish, $33,000, whatever that number was, at the end of the loan, if you don't pay for it in cash, you're going to be spending $47,500 on that car. Keep in mind, Teslas have one of the worst depreciations. These are brand new to brand new. One, you don't buy new cars because of the depreciation. You want someone else to eat that depreciation. Even if you buy a used car from 2-3 years ago, they're still fine. I bought a 2017 and 2019, and I bought it for 13 grand, and it's worth 8 now. Let someone else eat that depreciation. We're not rich enough to have that happen. Considering the price of a Tesla after interest, $47,500, and a used Prius for 15 grand, I would probably buy one for 10 grand, but I want to have that flexibility. So I overestimated 15,000. And you're probably saying, where did I get that number from? I look on Facebook Marketplace, and that's where it comes from. So it says, how many miles would the Tesla have to drive to make up for the gas savings that we found in the previous prompt? So it says, here's a breakdown of how to calculate the mileage needed for the Tesla to break even on cost due to fuel savings, considering the initial price difference. So the calculation, the price difference, Tesla is 47,500 minus the cost of the Prius, which is 15 grand, which is the difference between those two is $32,500. So the calculation to figure out the miles to break even would be 32,500 divided by $3.98, the savings per 1,000 miles. And then the total miles that we get from that is 81,658 miles. 81,000 miles, guys. 81,000 miles. That's how many miles you'd have to drive in your brand new Tesla to break even on the consideration of not getting a used Prius. That is a lot. Most drivers aren't driving 81,000. Like a full-time driver, 50, 60 hours a week, probably doing that. Me. Most people aren't doing that. And these people are buying Teslas. The monthly payment for a Tesla, for me, it says the estimated monthly payment would be $605 per month for a car payment. My Jetta, I was paying $230 for that per month. Now I don't have a car payment because it's paid off. $605. And guess what? We didn't even talk about insurance. This is an actual quote from Progressive. Actual quote. I didn't make this up. This is an actual quote. I pay about $300 for my wife's car, my car, and the rideshare endorsement on top of it. This has the rideshare endorsement on top of it as well. That's for two cars. I'm paying $300 for two cars. For this one car, it's $376 per month. $376 on top of my $600 car payment. That's $976. $976. That is $1,000 just for the Tesla. We're not even talking about the price for electricity yet. This is $1,000 a month just for the Tesla. If you're averaging $4,000 a month before taxes and expenses, 25% of your gross income gone. Your house payment is supposed to be 25% or less than your income. If you have a car payment that is that high, it is going to set you back so much. A lot of drivers try to justify it to me, and I just don't see the justification here. It's just not worth it. Like, it's just not worth it. I don't know how to make that any more clear. If this video hasn't made it any more clear that buying a Tesla is not a good car for rideshare, especially a new one, right? The used one, who knows? But buying a brand new Tesla is not great for rideshare. And I'm going to have to leave it there. I hope you guys challenge yourselves not to use loans to buy your next car. I hope you start saving up. I hope you become more diligent about the money you're making, about where it's going. Try to lower your expenses. Try to plan better, build up an emergency fund. But if the car you buy causes you to have to work more hours than you had to work before, you are falling deeper into the rideshare trap. And I do not want that for you. We are trying to solve for freedom here on this channel. And debt, it takes away your freedom. It seems like it's a thing that gets us out of it, but it forced, like, the decisions that you would make if you had to buy a car in cash versus using debt would be different. Even if you had $40,000 sitting in your bank account right now, you having to take that $40,000 out to buy something, you will make a different decision versus you relying on a loan for $40,000. You're going to say, nah, man, you know what? I don't want to use that entire $40,000 for this Tesla. Let me go and get something else. Let me go and get something cheaper. Maybe I go to Hertz, get a used Tesla. Maybe I take Tristan's advice, go on Facebook Marketplace, buy a $10,000 Prius and put $5,000 to the side just in case something's wrong with that Prius. But the decisions that you make will change. And I'm talking from a place of, I took debt off the table, and the decision making that is now available to me is different from when I was okay with using debt. Now that I don't use debt, I'm not waiting to the last minute to start thinking about saving for my new car. I'm putting $200 a month aside, for when something might happen to my car and it's time to get something new. So it changes how you perceive things. It changes your risk tolerance. And I want you guys to realize that, one, stop buying a new car. It's the biggest financial killer for Americans, not just in rideshare. Stop buying a new car. If you don't have $1 million net worth, and if you're not paying in cash, stop buying a new car. We need to be buying the cheapest thing possible to make the most money. I'm going to talk more about this. We're going to talk more about buying cars, the different types of cars. We're going to talk about 7-seaters. We're going to talk about how SUVs aren't great for rideshare, right? You're better off taking that money. It's just a 5-seater and buying a Prius. If you want to do XL, okay, it's going to be more expensive, but you need to also be smart about what kind of XL car you're buying. We're going to start doing much deeper dives into these things. And if you don't want to miss that, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.